Thank you for joining us. Today we are going to look at one of the most important issues in high school public education system, and that is how can we increase the passing rate in ninth grade math and science. Especially a lot of our school now go through integrated math as well as having biology as a freshman class. To increase the passing rate in math and science, we are going to look at a new approach of how we grade our student, and we call it self-reflective grading approach. The word self-reflective, again, is about integrating technology so that we allow our students to self-reflect in real time about their self-accountability, responsibility, and check for their understanding in real time. But before we look at that approach, let's look at the three current challenges that has direct impact on our student grade. The first one is a very important one, is the cell phone and abuse technology, that including abusing school Chromebook. The second one is excessive tardy and absences that continue to happen and is being unnoticed, and there are no tangible consequences that are enforced on this student except for a call home by the school automated machine. And the most challenging one is the lack of maturity, sense of responsibility, and confidence. This is the most difficult one to tackle for us. The first two is very easy. So let's talk about our solution to the three challenges above. The first one, cell phone and abuse technology. This one turned out to be very easy. And all you have to do is this: have an administrator or a student representative make a daily announcement. When you have your daily announcement, to clarify and establish a school-wide cell phone policy that empowers teachers to make the decision. This is the key part. A policy that empowers teachers to make the decision based on what's happening in that specific class to that specific student. And the announcement can be as simple as this. You start with the mascot name, and then any teachers and staff can take away your cell phone or electronic device if you have them out without their prior permission. So for example, let's make a quick announcement. Let's call this school with a mascot of the Ravens, okay? My fellow Ravens, any teachers and staff can take away your cell phone or electronic device if you have them out without their prior permission. Now, this school policy is clear and is enforceable because the teachers are now being empowered. But most importantly, it provides teachers an essential tool to implement positive reinforcement, and that's very key. Now it's become a tool rather than become a burden on the teachers that motivate unmotivated students, like especially ninth graders, who doesn't care much about their grade yet. But what they care is about social media and electronic device, specifically the cell phone. So now we can use this positive reinforcement to motivate ninth graders to engage and complete an assignment and study for the assessment. You see that's the difference? Now this policy is not the same as having no cell phone school-wide policy, which we know is impossible because there's no way you can make all teachers enforce that rule. It's a battle that's constantly fought every day, and our teachers are going to get burned out arguing about cell phone on a daily basis. But if you empower them to make the decision, they will use it as a positive reinforcement to motivate the student. And again, just like at home, a cell phone is priceless. A student cannot buy it. It's a priceless incentive that we should use to motivate our student. And this approach is fair and very rewarding to our student. But it is so cheap. It's so easy to implement. All you have to do is make an announcement that empowers your teachers and remind students. The second one is excessive tardy and absences. This one's also easy too. Using our website, you can have auto-graded bell quiz and exit ticket. Notice we use the term quiz and exit ticket, or exit quiz, okay? That's auto-graded, so the teacher don't have to grade it. And most important, it is automatically open and closed so the student know that they have to be in class at a specific time. If they tardy, they're not going to have enough time to finish the bell quiz. Or if they pack up early, they're not going to have time to finish the exit quiz. Now, not only that we make our student more accountable, we are now also giving them the opportunity to self-reflect about what they learned from yesterday or what they learned today. But most importantly, you will only allow excuse absences or tardy to make it up. And that's key. Your tardy and absence need to be excused. And why are we doing that? That way we know that our students are not ditching our class. But most importantly, we promote our student to be responsible, because when they're in our class, more likely they're going to be successful. And of course, this will dramatically increase your school overall attendance magically. It's naturally happening because now we are designing an approach that based on our student needs. The last one is the most challenging one, is that many freshmen come in with a lack of maturity and sense of responsibility and confidence. That's because a lot of time in middle school and elementary school, they just get socially promoted. If they fail a class, that's okay, they can still move on. But they don't realize that when you go to high school, every class you fail, you have to retake them over again and over again until you pass. And as a freshman, ninth grader, they come in, they don't realize that yet. So that's the reason why you see a high failure rate in freshman year. But there is a possibility of reminding our student on a daily basis so that we can build a sense of confidence and establish the values of passing a class in high school. So let's look at this. Traditionally, these are the grading methods, right? We have assignments, tests, and quiz. And a lot of time, these are the common breakdown. Another common breakdown is just total score. That's pretty much it. But we are going to look at a more complicated one where some teachers take the effort to make a category out of different type of activities. But it turned out is this, that 90% of the assigned work is not graded daily. Usually, sometimes teachers collect work and they don't return like the next week. And if you have this kind of environment for ninth grader, what do you think they're going to do? With today's technology, they can airdrop the answer within seconds. So if you assign a worksheet, which is great, allow the student to have open-ended question. But if you don't grade them, does it have any values at all? So we have to reconsider about how we grade our student work. Grading is no longer just having students fill in the work and give them credit. That's important for effort. But we need to take a different approach that we need to grade our assigned work daily. It doesn't have to be in detail, but we need to show that if the student understands, they need to know that right away. And that's a problem with traditional grading methods. Or another one is this. They don't grade the work, or teachers don't grade the work, they just stamp the work, but without giving any constructive feedback if the student work is actually correct or incorrect. And if the students see this pattern, guess what happened? Well, all of these assignments become meaningless. And if they don't do the assignment, guess what happened to the test? They all fail too, as well as the quiz. And that's why you see a bunch of F in all this type of grading class. And only students who are doing well are the mature students who are responsible, who actually do the assignment. And the students who are not doing the assignment will automatically fail the test and quiz. So let's look at this self-reflective grading approach and how that changed our student mentality, as well as also empowering our teacher. The self-reflective grading approach assess students twice daily. The first thing they walk in and the last thing they walk out. Bell quiz, exit quiz. In addition to auto-graded assignment. We are going to take our assignment and to make it auto-graded as much as possible, either through peer grading or graded by the website. You see the difference? It doesn't matter if it has to be detailed or not, but if we tell a student if they get it right or wrong, it will completely change their mindset about the task at hand. Now they take it more seriously. So when you tell the student if it's right or wrong in real time, Now the students are constantly self-reflecting about their understanding of the content as well as their performance. Likewise, teachers are now constantly self-reflecting about their lesson and evaluating their student in real time. And that's the key. Real time. We're not waiting for the next day or the next week to tell a student, hey, you did a great job, or you failed miserably. So in order to understand this more, we have proven this in our chemistry class, which is now predominantly 10th grader. Chemistry used to be a class of juniors and seniors, and we thought this would never be possible for 10th grader. And we have found that this is possible to help some of our 10th grader to do well. So, and of course, it's happened case by case. And of course, your first year of implementing this will not be fully successful, but you can see a difference in your student performance, especially your student behavior. And I have seen this in my class where I've seen students fail at the beginning of the year and now having B and C at the end of the semester. Usually students do the other way around. They pass first semester and they fail second semester. So the difference is this: now you see failure at the beginning and passing at the end. That means they have developed their growth mindset, the sense of responsibility in the class. So let me show you how that works. We have 10% participation. That way we can enforce positive and negative reinforcement to make sure our students behave appropriately in the class. Then we have assignment that's worth 30%, which is a good amount of percentage. But here's the trick. We have a test and quiz together. This is together. Why is it important to have them together? Because if we have tests separately and it's a high percentage, and the only time our students see the change in their grade is when they have a test, it would be too late. It would be too long to motivate a student. When they fail that test, they're going to give up for the whole entire year. So that's why we put test and quiz together. And if we look at this diagram right here, right? So here, let's look at this. Let's make this theoretical number of 100%. That is an assumption, okay? At first, we start a unit, a new topic that students don't understand. Of course, they're not going to try it. They're not going to do it. Assume this is a freshman mentality. They're not going to try it. But of course, there are 50% of students who try it. But what you're going to have every day is your auto-graded bell quiz and exit ticket or exit quiz that remind the student you have to do the assignment, which they haven't done yet, in order to do well on the bell quiz. So you kind of tap them multiple times on the bell quiz and on the exit ticket. But also the assignment is auto-graded. So there you go, you tap them 3 times. Now you have tangible evidence. That's the key word, tangible. Evidence of student behavior, also student learning. So if you take the time to get the data like this, which is easily accessed, you can identify those students the first 2 weeks, call home. That will create dramatic impact on the student. Just a generic parent link email to all the students who are failing the first 2 weeks. Or the first week, you will create a sense of urgency and accountability for all those students. And if we look at this, another important thing is that weekly bell quiz, right? Look at this, right? We are talking about the increase of rigor. When we give a student quiz the first time, we start very easy. That could be as simple as having an open notes to get them exposed to the sense of responsibility. Eventually, we make it more rigorous in the next quiz, and eventually make it more rigorous in the next quiz. And eventually they get to the test. And by the time they know it, they get like a perfect score in the test. Now, we did the math and we assume that if they have completed the assignment, of course their score in test and quiz is going to go up. And we make a magic number. Let's say we assume that 65% on quiz and test. Okay. And if that's the case and we do the math, what is 65% of 60? And that will give us 39. We can open the assignment for a long period of time throughout the whole entire unit and give a student the opportunity to complete it late and get partial credit. And on the average, we realize that 60% of the work are done by the student. I'm talking about the low underperforming student, okay? So this is about 60%. So what is 60% out of 30? That turned out to be 15. And of course, the student participation will also change because now they are being accountable on a daily basis. We can assume that this is now 8%. Let's say that. a B, okay? And if we add them together, we take 8 plus 15 plus 39. What do we get? That'll give us 62%, which is a D. But what is happening in the reality here is this. My class average is 85%. That is 20% difference. So let's make this as a fair estimate. The average now, it is 70% on test and quiz. So let's see how is that going to change our number. I'm going to change a different color. So let's call this 75%. So 60 times 0.75, we now have 45. And also over time, you see an improvement throughout the year that in most cases, I would have 70% of assignment completed. Remember, these are auto-graded and we can adjust the total score based on the class average. So 70% is usually based with a curve cut, and that gives us now 21. And for participation, we just keep as 8% as well. So now let's look at this total. We have 8 plus 21 plus 45. This now gives us a brand new total of 74%, even though we assume that is 10% less than the reality of the average, which is plus 14% more than an F. So hopefully we can show you how we can make this really work and really help your student passing the 9th grade math and science. But at the same time, without lowering down the standard of your teaching or inflating your grade, but now it is at the same time making a student more accountable, but also more responsible, and also have a deeper understanding about your subject. So are you ready to fully implement this self-reflective grading approach and help your 9th grade to pass their math and science class? Contact us now to schedule a training. We are 100% guarantee that your teacher will love a PD, or you don't have to pay for any teacher who is not satisfied. Our PD motto is train first, pay later.